Today, we'll learn how English accents can be one of the most fascinating things about the language. They add so much history and personality to how we speak. So in this lesson, I challenged Ethan to guess the country of the accent he was hearing, and I also tested his ability to imitate some of the most iconic ones, like accents you have probably struggled to understand in movies, for example.
Y'all got squirrels in Colorado?
We had a lot of fun exploring the pronunciation, what makes each one of these unique, and so this is going to be fantastic for you to improve your listening comprehension of real-life English, the English you'll actually experience in everyday situations. So let's get started, and I hope you have fun and learn a ton with this lesson of the Real Life English podcast. All right, Ethan. So I want to start today's lesson by challenging you to guess the accent. And I also want to invite all of you guys in our audience to do the same and see if you can guess some of the accents that I have here.
That is a challenge. I am by no means an expert, but it sounds fun.
All right, so here are the rules. I want you to only listen to the clip, just so you can get the audio. And they're going to tell me what is the accent that you can hear and give us one defining characteristic of the accent. So are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
I had a funny moment yesterday at the races. I was at the races talking to a girl, and she said, "Oh, you're shooting Wolverine?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I would have thought you'd had the mutton chops on for that."
All right, what accent is that?
I think it's Aussie English, Australian.
Nice. What gave it away
And
for you?
for me, it's that, well, there's a few things, but I think something that really is marking an Australian accent is the intonation, that they do this upward intonation. Like you said, mutton chops. So every phrase, every clause ends with an upward intonation at the end, almost as if you were asking a question, you know?
That's true. And also there's some things to support it, right? That he said mutton. So there's like that glottal stop there, which is something that you see also in Australian.
Do you know what mutton chops are?
Yeah. By the way, before we talk about that, this is who? Do you know who's talking here?
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, he's talking about Wolverine, right? So that also gave it away a bit. By the way, to give away in this sense is just to reveal, right? Oh, I gave it away. Like I revealed what that was. But yeah, this is Hugh Jackman talking about Wolverine. And mutton chops, yeah, that he's talking about a particular style of beard, right? Maybe
so
the connection between the beard and the hair.
These are called sideburns in English, like the part that kind of connects your hair to your beard for men, obviously. And mutton chops it's kind of like this very big, beefy sideburn that was popular at some point, and obviously that Wolverine has.
So it's like that elongated sideburn.
Right. And I think it comes from mutton is what we call meat from a sheep. And a chop is like a cut of meat. Like you have pork chops, lamb chops. So it's like a sheep. It's a piece of meat from a sheep.
Nice. All right, let's go to the next accent.
I felt very lucky when they offered it to me because I think it's a very special movie. And I think there is magic in it. And that's something that is not easy to find. That's what it made me feel when I read it. And then I saw the movie and I think it's there.
I think it's Spanish. Is it Penelope Cruz?
Yeah, it is Spanish, and it is Spanish from Spain, and it is actually Penelope Cruz. How do you know?
I listened to an interview with her not too long ago, so I guess it was familiar for me. And it's an accent that I hear a lot.
I guess, right?
Oh, she was really young in that clip.
Really young. She's talking about the movie she did with Johnny Depp, Glow. Glow? No, it's do you know what's that called? That movie? I guess T, our producer, can look that up. But let's continue just talking about this. So what gave it away? What was the feature of the accent that you heard there?
Yeah, with Spanish, again, there's a lot. But for me, a big thing is the tap R, which we don't have in English with R's at least. And Spanish speakers will often make that sort of mistake.
That's true. For me, I think it was the way she's the V and the B, they're kind of interchangeable.
Yeah, that's true in Castilian Spanish. Or like very becomes very. So you have both things there.
You have both things, exactly. Anyway, so the name of the movie here, T tells us, is Blow, that she's talking about there. She's really young there. This is from the year 2000, I think.
What does interchangeable mean, by the way? You mentioned the B's and V's are interchangeable.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it's when things can be used the same way. Like two different things have the same application in a situation, so they're interchangeable. You can use either. All right, let's go to the next one.
It was a wintry walk to school in Park Village, but they're a hardy breed in these parts.
Well, the mother says we had to go anyway. We hadn't much a choice in the matter, but sure.
It's a cold journey to school this morning.
Oh, God, you wouldn't be long getting frostbite.
I think that's like a very rural sounding Irish accent.
Yeah.
Could it be?
Yeah. I have some issues like distinguishing Irish from Scottish in some situations, but
It's
this
the
is
same for me.
Yeah, but this is Irish.
I think
It
a
really
big
is.
giveaway between Irish and Scottish is the R, because in Ireland they have a rhotic R like we have in American English, so this r sound. Whereas in Scotland, something that's really unique with their accent is they have a tap R like in Spanish. So it's like morning or morning, would be if you're saying morning. And there's, I think it's called an Irish lilt, if I'm not mistaken, this sort of musicality that it has.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. For me, that's the one thing that it's like a giveaway. He said there, you wouldn't be long getting frostbite. It's
What
talking
is
about
frostbite, by the way?
Exactly.
Or
Yeah, so that's what I was...
frostbite, maybe he said as a verb.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. I think I know what it is. So it's when something gets frozen to a point where if it's a living part of a body, like that becomes dead, right? You lose a finger, for
you can
example.
lose
if
the
it gets
limb.
frostbite. There you go. Yeah. So he's saying that you wouldn't be long getting frostbite, which is, I guess, a verb form, right? Of in the past participle.
Frostbite, the participle?
Yeah, frostbite.
Yeah, and you can believe it because I think Ireland is cold and rainy a lot of the year. So I imagine that frostbite is a possibility there if you're not well prepared.
Anyway, so we've covered a few words here already, a few advanced expressions like mutton chops and interchangeable, frostbite as well. And for all of you guys watching us on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you feel like you've been learning with content like this for a while and you keep forgetting the words you learn, all the expressions that you learn, you should know that this lesson is available on the RealLife app with so many other resources that make it more of a complete experience for you to actually learn these words and not forget them, to remember them forever so you can actually use them in real life conversations. And you can unlock this lesson right now for free by clicking the link in the description below. We're going to leave it there, or you can simply search for Real Life English on your favorite app store. All right, Ethan. So now let's try something different to explore some more accents here. Now I have a sequence of some American accents, and I know you're more experienced with those. So now I'm going to give you some names of different accents, and I want you to do your best impression of them. And to help you, I'm going to give you some sentences as well. So it's not a problem if you don't get it perfectly or not an accent perfect, but you do have your experience as a native, right? So that matters.
I suppose. I'll give it my best.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this anyway. Like two things I'd like to point out here is that first, even without being an expert, you can already share some of your knowledge, and that's good for me. I can learn with you already. And for everybody who's listening to us, or all of our audience right now, you can already teach somebody something you already know, and that's a great way to kind of solidify what you've learned too. And to keep practicing it. It's just fun, right? To share what you learn as well.
Yeah, I think just like the pure curiosity of being interested in what different accents sound like. It reminds me of like when we get together, for example, we have a lot of Brazilians on our team. When we get together in person, it's always fun to talk about like, okay, how do different people on the team from different parts of Brazil speak Portuguese differently? Yeah. And I think that that's a curiosity you can have for your own language, for languages you're learning like English.
Because there's no such thing as no accent. Like you can't speak a language with no accent because it's like the clothes that an accent could wear. Like it's the packaging, I would say. So if it's written, that's one thing. But when you speak it, then you get to see the packaging, the exterior of that. And I think it's beautiful. And or by no means, like we're not trying to insult anybody with this lesson. You may hear some non-native accents. I mean, you will hear. I've prepared a few here. And we're not making fun. We're not mocking anybody. It's just, again, for the sake of curiosity and for celebrating the differences as well. After all, when you say that no matter what divides us, that which unites us is far greater, we are talking about the richness and the uniqueness in our differences too. So that's also what unites us. It's our rich culture, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's start with the first one. I want to hear your best Southern accent in any way it comes with this one sentence I just sent you.
I can channel. I can channel that. I remember when I was young, maybe like 12 or so, we were with my family in Mexico. A friend of mine came and we met some girls that were from, I want to say, Tennessee, a state in the South. And I remember them telling us a story about squirrels and then asking, y'all got squirrels in Colorado? Okay, so that's similar to the one that you gave me. So I'll try to channel that same. Y'all come on over later. We'll sit on the porch and sip some sweet tea.
Nice. Before I just ask one thing about what you just said, you did say they were going to try and channel like a Southern person. What is that, to channel in this context?
You're trying to pull that person's energy or vibe, maybe. Like you have in the paranormal that people might try to channel a spirit or channel someone who died, from the afterlife.
Yeah. So in this case, like you can just simply channel personalities and other people. And this is actually a great way to impersonate or to just learn accents just for fun. I even heard Margot Robbie saying that when she was learning the Brooklyn accent, that she would do something with her hands like this. And because her accent coach said, pretend that you have wet fingernails and that you don't want to touch your face with them. And then that was really useful for her to channel her Brooklyn accent for some reason.
That's interesting.
She explains in the clip. I can share that in the description. So there's a person on YouTube, YouTuber, who did a video on accents. Because she covered 25 accents in a single video, and that was a lot of fun. And I thought about playing some parts from that clip here, because she did do a Southern accent in that video. Let me show you so we can talk about it.
Let's go to Southern, more of the Texan, Tennessee kind of accent. So sweet, I love it. Just makes me want sweet tea and biscuits. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And then you move over into Missouri, the eastern southern states, and it's just kind of like a southern drawl. Everything's really, really drawn out, like slathered on a piece of bread, like molasses. I'm sorry if that's offending anyone. I don't mean it like that.
That's genius. The way she said molasses. What is that, by the way?
Pulling a lot of like cultural references from the South too, but the South too, it's a big area of the United States, and you have a lot of diversity of accents within the South. As she pointed out, Texas sounds quite different from Missouri or Mississippi or whichever one she was doing in the latter part of the clip.
Yeah. I was watching another clip the other day, and I heard a guy say Alabama.
Yeah.
So I went home to Alabama.
Anyway, so yeah, it's an accent that's got that drawl.
You also have a lot of nasality in that accent.
Sounds really nasal.
So you hear it sounds like people have a head cold, right?
Anyway, so as I was saying, what is that word? Molasses? Is that how you should pronounce it?
Molasses. Molasses.
Is that what is it's a food, right?
I believe it's kind of like caramel. It's made from sugar, from boiling down sugar. But it's got a lot stronger taste than caramel, whereas like caramel is very like sweet and light. Molasses has a very pungent meaning like something that has a strong smell or taste to it. So it'll be used in a lot of baking recipes, and I don't know, maybe in the South it's popular, but I don't know if they just eat it like slathered on bread, like she was saying.
Yeah, and then she mentioned there's like this drawl to the accent, which is when you extend vowels and you make all words kind of sound long, like the way she said the word molasses.
Yeah, the way I like to think of it is in the South, it's hotter. They have a slower, more relaxed way of going about life, and that applies also to the speaking.
That makes sense. See, like for your channel, some accents, you need a picture or something, right? Like that chill vibe. Anyway, let's go now to the Canadian accent, and I want to hear your best Canadian with this one sentence I just sent you.
Okay. I mean, for me, Canadian just sounds like American, but except for...
Do a more rural one, I guess, right?
Sorry, but could you pass me the maple syrup for my pancakes? I was just about to dig in.
I've heard a boat, right? I know that's kind of like a A boot stereotype.
Just a boot to dig in. Yeah, you're right. Any one thing that it probably would also be like, could you pass me the maple syrup?
It's sorry, right? Sorry, eh?
Sorry. Yeah.
Let's check out what Call Me Chris, this YouTuber, said here.
Oh, hey there, bud. You want to grab a brewski and we can go watch the hockey game? Yeah? Okay, great. Then we can take a rip out and go 4x4. Sounds good, eh? Yeah.
A lot of the A's.
Yeah. It's like Robin Scherbatsky from How I Met Your Mother, right? Especially there's some scenes in that where she really has like a thicker Canadian accent.
Yeah, and this girl, she is Canadian, and she mentioned in this video that she's exaggerating just a bit, but some people do speak like that, so it's not, it is faithful to
Most Canadians I've met, though, they sound just American, and then once in a while they have like some words that they pronounce a little bit differently, but it's quite difficult to discern an American accent from a Canadian one.
Yeah, especially the more urban accent. One thing I hear a lot, though, is that word sorry, being mostly like sorry by all Canadians in general, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so before we continue, I just want to say this to all of our audience, that every single week we make lessons just like this one with the best real life examples and real life stories to help you become a confident, natural English speaker. So if you're not following us yet on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that now. That's going to be really helpful for you to learn more consistently with every new lesson that we share. All right, let's move on to the next one. And this is Californian. Oh, by the way, I talked about doing American accents here and including Canadian there. So let me just rephrase that. North American.
Accents, you could have
there
said.
you go. Yeah. But let's now try and do a Californian accent. And you can do the Valley one, because I know there's that most
Valley
typical.
girl.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I literally can't even handle how cute that puppy is.
So, okay, I see the patterns. Like, what are you doing there? How are you actually doing that?
I feel like I probably like elongate some sounds, right? And Valley girls, it's kind of like the Australian accent that there's a lot of upward intonation. So, so a lot of times when you're talking to someone who's from the LA area, you're not sure if they're asking you a question or they're just talking because they talk like this. And it's also very hard to know when they're done saying a sentence.
Yeah. And some people get that that strained voice, especially women, I would say. And yeah, Call Me Chris does this here.
At least a lot of the girls do that I've talked to and stuff like that. Everything's like every last word of every sentence is drawn out, and they say like a lot. No offense, I know not everybody sounds like this in LA, but like you kind of do at the same time.
All right, let's go now to New York. So I want to hear your best New Yorker accent with this sentence.
Hey, I'm walking here. Can't I just grab a coffee and a slice without all this hassle? Yeah, New York's hard. It
is hard,
very,
right?
Very tough one for me.
I think it's easier to get some of the words first. How would you say coffee in more of a New York accent?
Coffee. I would say coffee with my accent. I think they do like a coffee.
Yeah, I think that's one nice way also to start. If you guys are interested in accents, you can try single words first, because you really got the musicality of it. It's easier, right? It's fun. And there's another clip that I saw a guy showing like a guide for pronunciation with individual words. Check it out.
Water, coffee, one plain, one square, and a Coke. Sure, chocolate, online, dog, let me get a talk, one everything toasted with cream cheese, bodega, irregardless, how much do you pay for this place? Houston, draw, the city, salt, dead ass, dump.
Okay.
Staten Island is dump. Staten Island's one of the boroughs of New York City. There's 5 boroughs. There's Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. And I guess Staten Island gets a bad reputation. Yeah,
but it is interesting the way they say coffee. That's the most classic word, right? Coffee.
They also have non-rhotic R, like in I think most New Yorkers don't, but the accent he's using here, there some people have that non-rhotic R, like in British English. So he said like water.
I think it's become more of a stereotype these days, right? With the Italian mafia kind of accent they trying to channel.
There's also like the meme, not the meme. There's the videos that went viral of, I think it's like the most New York dad or something, that he has this super thick New York accent.
Water. Dog. Coffee. Forget about it.
Anyway, let's move on to another location in the States that's close to New York, and it's got a similar accent, but not exactly similar. That is Boston, the Bostonian accent.
I can't imitate a Bostonian.
Well, do your best.
It's so hard.
So here's the sentence.
That's a really hard sentence. Park the car in Harvard Yard. You can't get there from here.
Yeah, it's similar because you have the non-rhotic R, right?
I think too, you have like a lot more like R sounds, maybe like Boston. They say Boston instead of Boston.
So let's check out Emily Blunt trying and doing a Bostonian accent. Now, she's from
British,
Boston.
right?
She's British, though, but she is married to John Krasinski, the actor from The Office. You guys know that, right?
Is he Bostonian?
He's from Boston. So let's see.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Let's hear her try.
Can you tell me something in your thickest Boston accent?
I'm gonna butcher it. All right. Good for you, Joe, with your wicked awesome questions and your fancy job and your Vogue offices.
Is that Matt Damon?
I know, right?
She said, I'm going to butcher it, which is what I did with that example you gave me. What does that mean if you butcher an accent, for example?
Well, figuratively here is when you get it all wrong and you just kind of kill it. You destroy the accent by doing it wrong. But literally, it's the guy who cuts the meat parts, right, at the supermarket or at the market. But you can butcher accents like this too.
There's also, if people want to learn the Boston accent, it's really good to listen to interviews with Mark Wahlberg, because he's a very famous actor from there. And he's maintained a pretty marked Boston accent.
I want to meet him. You want to hang out with him? I want to meet him, and then you can hang out with him in a safe environment.
All right, so I think we're good with the American accents, the North American accents. Let's move on to non-natives one. And what I think is special about non-native accents is that they reveal a lot about the actual language that people speak, their first language. So I wanted to ask you, what makes these special? What makes them more unique for you? So let's get started with the French. You speak a little bit of French, right? So maybe you got some of the mannerisms and the things there that French people say, French people do.
Yeah. I think a big thing is every language has this musicality, right? So with French, you have like the and this is something that even I'd give it as a recommendation to my students and so on, is to try to find, if say you're wanting to learn the American accent, try to find an American that's speaking your native language, because imitating them speaking your native language, that can be a really good way, especially if they have a marked pronunciation speaking your native language, that can be a good way for you to pick up on, the mistakes that they're making, the kind of musicality that they bring from their native language. Which is easier to do when it's in your native language than when you're trying to do that at the same time that you're also trying to include all the vocabulary and pronunciation that you would when speaking the language that you're learning, like English, right? So that can be a good exercise.
Now that you're saying this, I do think that musicality is one of the biggest things. We talked about it in a previous lesson about accents. We can share that in the description. But it really is huge. Like, that's the first thing you hear. Because there may be the specific vowel sounds and consonant sounds here and there that you could say like, oh, that's wrong. But the thing that I think kind of disturbs me the most when I'm trying to understand is the musicality when it's too like different, when it's too foreign. Because I'm used to, all these different music that I hear from native speech. So you may be misunderstood, or people may struggle to understand you if you don't work on that. Like, he does a Japanese guy here.
So, this guy thinks because he can imitate a lot of accents, he is strong? He's a fool and cannot do Japanese without sounding like a samurai master from a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, so he recognizes that he can't exactly do a Japanese guy there. But the Japanese people are, I think, people who kind of suffer a lot in trying to get the musicality right because it's so strong. That's very unique, right? It's very Japanese. And for you to go from that to English, it's like there's a big chasm, I would say, of difference.
What's a chasm?
A chasm is like you have, for example, like in the Grand Canyon location, it's this huge valley or hole in between two lands, right? You could say. So
using it figuratively like you did, it means that there's something that's very difficult to cross, right? I think the musicality, though, it's something that by itself, it's okay, but it tends to be more with like pronunciation. When you're really mispronouncing things, then the intelligibility is hurt more, which is one of the things that sometimes marks certain accents. So I think as long as you can clearly pronounce things, even if you still have a bit of the music from your language, which is quite difficult to throw off because it's kind of like a song that you've been singing your entire life, then you'll still be okay. But like make sure that you learn the individual sounds that exist in English that don't exist in your native tongue, so you can correctly form those. Yeah, that's something that I think is worth highlighting as well. It does make accents more unique and beautiful. Some people find it charming, like the Brazilian accent when speaking English. It's charming for some people because it does sound like we have that E, that Y at the end of words. Hedgy How you guys say Red Bull?
Yeah, it's like a ready, or hedgy. We do say that, or the band like a hedgy hotty. Chili peppers. Hedgy hotty.
Actually, when I first, because you have like the R becomes like a H, right? At least in some accents. And when I first moved to Brazil, I was hanging out with some new friends, and I was talking to this girl, and she was asking me, she's like, "Oh, do you like hockey?" And I was like, you have hockey here? Like, I was really surprised. You have hockey? And it took me a little while. And then like I found out that she started talking about bands. I was like, oh, like rock. She's saying rock, like rock music.
Those are two sounds there, right? Like the R
Brazil,
and
it's too hot for hockey, right? It's not a sport that Brazil is known for.
But that's how we say it. I say it like that too. I don't go around and say like, oh, vamos escutar rock. I think it's kind of lame. They say it like that.
That's another good thing though, is like those words that have been adopted from English in your native language, like learning how to correctly pronounce that, because it can correctly pronounce that in English. Not to say there's anything wrong with how you're saying it in your native language, but that can be a good way to see, like, they're like, okay, in Brazil you say hockey, in the States we say rock. So it's kind of like, okay, well, that points to the R. I need to like change my R's. I need to not add that extra E sound at the end of syllables, right?
So actually, that's interesting what you're saying. Let's listen to a person I actually like a lot. This guy is called 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗟𝗶. He's another YouTuber who does videos on cinema and all things video production. And he started to learn English. So this video is from 2 years ago. And since then, he's developed his English a lot. He's become a lot more fluent. But it's interesting to analyze the way he's speaking here. Check it out.
Hi, Mr. Eddie Hamilton. It's a great honor to speak with you. You have no idea how
Deixa eu ver tua carinha, deixa.
my English barrier, it's knocking me down right now.
I wish I could understand Portuguese and then it would be fine. Sorry.
A lot of your work inspired me.
Yeah, he's apologizing for his English there, which don't do. The guy's even saying like, no, I don't speak Portuguese. Like, please speak English any way you can. That's great. But yeah, you can hear a lot of the things we commented on there, right? In his accent. Exactly. So now I want to do another round of impressions, and let's make this faster with a British English. Some variations of British English and accents from that area of the globe. Starting with the RP, the received pronunciation accent. So do your best RP with this sentence.
Okay. Pardon me, but it's utterly essential to arrive on time. Could you direct me to the nearest train station if you'd be so kind?
What did you do there? Like, what were the things that you were trying to do with your voice there?
The music changes. I stopped at first because I wanted to go maybe more Cockney, where you'd be like, utterly, doing a glottal T there. That's cut off in the back of the throat. But RP, one of the main factors of RP is they have very correctly pronounced T's all the time. So utterly is not essential. on time, you know, so the strong
T's.
pronounced T sounds.
All right, so check out this clip of this guy doing an RP accent.
As long as you listen to the sound of my voice, you're going to be safe all of the time, every time. Thank you for helping me help you.
Okay, so moving on to the Cockney accent. You just mentioned it, Ethan. I want to hear your best Cockney accent with this sentence.
Oi, governor, fancy a cup of tea before we head down to the... Oh, that's Australian. Oi, governor. Oi, governor, fancy a cup of tea before we head down to the market?
Yeah.
No.
No?
Market?
That is
market.
Pretty good.
Did the it'd be market with a glottal T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some accents, I think it's easier if you make it more aggressive, at least for me to channel it. Oi,
I was
governor.
thinking of the character Butcher from The Boys. I don't know if you've watched that show before, but I actually found out watching the last season that the actor's from New Zealand, but he's doing like a very pronounced Cockney accent for that role.
You were spot on about him. There I was, filling up the motor. I turn around, the little 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗟𝗶.
Yeah, and even get some words that I think Americans think Brits speak a certain way, right? And when they try to emulate, and I'm not including you in that necessarily, but generally speaking, like Americans, they try to emulate Brits a certain way.
There's a guy who does all those shorts that's like, bottle of water? Of Americans like trying to make fun of British people. You want a bottle of water?
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. Actually, I have that clip here. Check it out.
Welcome. Can I take your order? Yeah. Can I get lettuce and tomatoes? Yeah, and ranch. Okay, let me get this straight. You want a lettuce and tomato with ranch? No, I'm kidding, man. I love the British accent, dude. Yeah, cool. What do you want to drink? To drink, can I just get... What? Can I get some water? Don't you mean a bottle of water? A bottle of water?
Bottle of water. But yeah, the Cockney accent does have like all these glottal stops and glottal T's. Like even in words that it's not with the T, but like hello, the H, they'll drop the H and make like hello. You know?
Yeah, there's a musicality to it too, right? Hello, hello.
And like the sentence "fancy a pint, mate." It's like, fancy a pint, mate. Which, by the way, what is that? Like to fancy? I mean, we know that word, but in this context, that construction, that collocation, what is that?
Yeah, fancy, right? That's like chic or like something that's high class. But Brits will use it a lot to mean like, would you like? You had here too in the example, fancy a cuppa. You say cup of tea, but there they just say cuppa, and it's already assumed that you mean tea when you say cuppa.
Beautiful connected speech.
Fancy a cuppa.
There. Yeah, and then fancy, as I said, like, fancy a pint, because pint is a unit of measurement.
It's
like
a measurement, yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Scottish accent. You've done it a bit already today. Actually, you've reacted to it. But, right, try it out.
Oh, hi, laddie. The weather is grim. Best bring your coat if you're going out.
Yeah, there you go. Like you're implementing that R, that very specific tapped R.
Your coat.
Your coat, like grim.
Bring, yeah.
Yeah. Call Me Chris, that YouTuber I showed before, she does a pretty good Scottish accent. Let's check it out.
The Scottish accent is like a storytelling accent, or if it's grey, if it's bleak outside, you might say it's pure dreich today. It's pure dreich. Sound like a shitty version of Mel Gibson from Braveheart.
See, so references again, like channeling. If you watched Braveheart, it's easier because you can just pick up like some of the sounds from that. And
yeah, there's the T's too, right? The T, if you had like RP Scottish in Scottish, it's the same as like in Cockney, that it'd be Scottish, and in American it'd be Scottish. American T, Scottish.
All right, so I got just a couple more. And this is not British, but it is close. The Aussie accent, as we already covered, but now I want to hear you do it, because you have been with Aussie people, right? Like you've one of the founders of Real Life English, Chad. He is from Australia.
Yeah, he didn't have an Aussie accent though. He lost his Aussie accent.
Well, still though.
But I can do Crocodile Dundee.
There you go. That's
not a knife. This is a knife. Crikey, mate. It's a scorcher today. Reckon we should throw some snags on the barbie. Snags. Never heard that word.
Pieces of meat. But what is he saying there? There's lots of words there.
Crikey. Crikey is like, oh my God, I guess. Crikey, mate. It's a scorcher today. Scorcher means it's really hot. And they do that a lot too. Reckon. You reckon? I mean, like, do you think? And that this is like that because some snags, I've never heard that, but we have very stereotypically Americans think that Australians say all the time, throw shrimp on the barbie, meaning like throw a shrimp on the barbecue. That's a very characteristic of Australian accents. They kind of make things cute in that way. Like, so barbecue becomes barbie, or they have like the liquor store is like a bottle-o, or
underwear, like undies.
Well, we say that too in American English.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I was thinking of like I think a can of beer they call like a stubby. So they have a lot of very cute words in Australia.
I don't know why they do that.
There was a theory I heard some years ago, and I don't know if it's actually verified or it's just a joke, but that historically Australians drank a lot, and the like drunken slur, it's called when you drink alcohol and your speech starts to get kind of like drawn out and gets lazy, that it actually became a characteristic of the Australian accent. So basically they speak the way they do because their ancestors were drunk all the time.
Yeah. And I have a clip here of the most Aussie person ever to have been recorded. I don't know if you've seen this clip. You probably have, but it's so funny. It's a guy telling a story of something that happened. Check it out.
Happened? Oh, well, it's really quite funny. I was in bed sleeping at 2 o'clock this morning. My wife comes in and says, oh, the shop's been, someone ran into the shop. And I said, oh, what? So I jumped out of bed and all I had was my undies on, and I've walked out the front and I've seen the car smashed, and I've seen the bloke walking back to the car. And so I've walked outside and I said, oh, what are you doing, mate? Like, you can't be leaving the scene. And he goes, don't be a hero, mate. And I said, I'm not trying to be a hero, but the police are coming.
It's a wild story.
For those of you that aren't watching on the RealLife English app, you might want the transcript for that, because it can be quite difficult to understand otherwise.
And he did use words there that I would otherwise not understand if I didn't know, like, oh, this is Aussie English. But he said undies, but as you said, that you can also hear that in American English. But he also said bloke, which is common also in British English. What is bloke?
It's like buddy, or a way to refer to a man. Something I noticed too a lot that is present in also some British accents is saying me instead of my. Me wife said.
Oh yeah, that is true.
But there's more English accents, right? Like we didn't do South African, or you made me think like Asian, like there's Singlish too from Singapore. So if you guys enjoyed today's lesson, you should comment down below. And if we do a follow-up, you could let us know what accents you would like us to try to cover. My imitation is pretty limited, so we might have to get some help.
But I did learn
it'd be fun I had a lot of fun talking about all these different accents and playing around with it. It's fun to try to imitate, even if you butcher it like I did most of these.
Now, this is something that makes English really special too. It's because there's so many cultures that actually speak it, and there's no right way to speak it as long as, again, you are understood. And if you want to be understood, you should work on your accent also. But still, it makes you more unique when you have a friend and they remember you because you're from Brazil. Like I'm from Brazil, and there's people who remember me because I said words a certain way. That's nice. And you can actually find people to practice your English with from the entire world, from many different cultures on the RealLife app. And actually, you guys can practice speaking over there in short video calls to go from 4 to 8 minutes in the free version of the app. And I have here a message from one of our fans, and I want to do a shout out, special shout out to this person who is our learner of the week. All right, so this one goes to 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗵. Hope I didn't butcher that, your name. But Shabir says, RealLife was a brand new experience in my life, and it turned out to be an incredible journey for learning English. It opened up opportunities to improve my skills while making the process fun and engaging. The platform is not just educational, but also interactive, allowing learners to connect with others and practice in real-world situations. It's an interesting online and free platform that has helped me grow both in confidence and in language ability. Yeah, Shabir. And again, for all of you guys who want to practice with people like Shabir, the link is in the description so you can access this lesson over there with more resources to make it a more complete learning experience. And from there, you can also access Global Speak. Link is in the description.
Awesome work today, guys. And if you are enjoying these lessons, a free way for you to support us is, first of all, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the bell down below and give this video a like. It really goes a long way to help YouTube see that you're enjoying these lessons so I can recommend it to more learners that might get a lot of benefit out of it. And same goes for those of you listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other streaming platform like that, where you can leave us a 5-star review. And if you're not watching this on the Real Life English app yet, what are you waiting for? That is the way to get the absolute best experience with these lessons, because you get an interactive transcript, you get vocabulary flashcards so you never forget the new words and expressions that you're learning with us, and you can have conversations in Global Speak, encounter all sorts of different accents. So be sure to download that for free right now by clicking the link in the description or searching for Real Life English in your favorite app store.
Yeah, Ethan, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope to do a part 2 of this lesson with more accents. And guys, remember, as we always say on this podcast, that no matter what divides us, cultural differences and otherwise, no matter what divides us, that which unites us is far greater. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
English language is absolutely full of idiomatic expressions, these phrases that don't always make sense when you take them literally, but when you know how to use them, they add a lot of quality and I would even say depth to your speech because they package so much meaning and emotion and storytelling in them.
Blessings in the sky.
Do you know what a prima donna is? Now, learning these expressions is essential if you want to sound more natural and fluent. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do.